Do you feel something, but you don't know where it comes from? Have you ever found yourself crying when for no clear reason? Or felt that tightness in your chest, even when everything around you seemed fine? Sometimes the pain has no name. The emptiness has no shape. The anguish has no explanation. But that doesn't mean it's not real. Many people spend their whole lives trying to understand why they feel this way. They struggle with anxiety, insecurities, irrational fears, silent self-sabotage. But no matter how hard they try to fix it with their minds, something keeps locking up inside. Dr. Hew Len used to say, "What hurts in you might not be from now. It might not even be yours. It could be just a memory, an old memory, forgotten by your conscious mind, but alive, very alive, within your subconscious." And that's where it all begins. Because while we try to control life with thoughts and plans, what really guides us are hidden data, experiences we lived through, and didn't even realize they left a mark. Childhood is where most of these memories begin. It didn't have to be something traumatic to leave a wound. Sometimes it was just a cold look from someone you loved, a harsh, "be quiet," an absence, an invisible abandonment, a love that came with conditions. You grew up, but that part of you didn't. It stayed there, hidden, waiting for someone to look at it with compassion, waiting to be heard, held, and released. That's why even as adults, we still feel rejected, not enough, unworthy. Because these memories keep running in the background like corrupted files, and the more you ignore them, the louder they get. But here's something maybe no one told you before. You don't need to understand everything. You don't need to remember it all. You just need to cleanse. Dr. Hew Len taught that Ho'oponopono is a simple yet profound path to liberation. He said, "I clean even without knowing what I'm cleaning, because the soul knows, divinity knows." If you're feeling that silent call within, that urge to release what has no name, that quiet knowing that something has to shift, then maybe the cleansing has already begun. And today, you're about to take an even deeper step into this journey. You're not here by accident. You're here because your soul asked to hear what your mind could never explain. And what comes next might be the beginning of your true healing. Childhood writes the codes. The adult keeps repeating. From a very young age, you started learning how you should be. You learned what it meant to be good, what was acceptable, what was right. You learned that sometimes to be loved, you had to please. That showing sadness was a weakness. That being authentic could lead to rejection. And without even noticing, you started to adapt. You adjusted your smile. You softened your desires. You even dimmed your light, so you wouldn't disturb anyone. And that wasn't your fault. You just wanted to belong. You wanted to be seen. You wanted to be loved. But the problem is that these adaptations became invisible codes, and today, even as a grown-up, even aware, you still feel obligated to follow rules you never chose. Rules like, "I have to be strong all the time. I'm only valuable if I'm productive. I need to take care of everyone before myself. If I show who I really am, they'll leave me." These thoughts aren't just limiting beliefs, they are memories. And according to Dr. Hew Len, memories are data that repeat themselves. And anything that repeats unconsciously rules your life. You might be trying to create a new reality, but if deep inside you still carry memories saying you're not worthy, they will sabotage everything you try to build. And that doesn't happen because you're weak or because you're doing something wrong. It happens because you're still operating from the autopilot of your childhood. And here comes a truth that sets you free. You don't need to understand those memories to cleanse them. You don't need to recall the exact moment you were hurt. You don't need to remember every word that was said to you. Dr. Hew Len would say, "You are not what you lived. You are what you are willing to cleanse." And that willingness starts now, when you look within with honesty and say, "Yes, I've been repeating patterns, but I can release them. I can let go." Because it doesn't matter what was placed inside of you. What matters is what you choose to return. You don't need to carry what was never yours. You don't have to keep reliving what once hurt you. You don't have to follow old codes as if they were eternal truths. With Ho'oponopono, you can interrupt the repetition. And from here on, you can begin to write a new script. A story where you don't need to prove anything. You simply cleanse, to finally return to who you always were, before all the masks. Maybe you're living this right now. A subtle discomfort that shows up in the middle of the day. A sadness you can't explain. Or a deep emotional fatigue that doesn't go away, no matter how much you rest. You look around and think, "My life isn't bad, so why do I feel this way?" You try to be grateful. You try to meditate, read, stay positive. But deep down, something still feels heavy. Some part of you still knows it's not all okay. And sometimes that part begins to whisper, "Is it me? Am I really enough? Will I carry this forever?" That's when the ego starts doubting and the soul starts calling. Dr. Hew Len used to say that many people live with this silent conflict, unaware that they're being ruled by old memories. Memories that cause pain and then try to protect us with control, perfectionism, and rigidity. But deep down, what these memories really want is to be seen and released. You are not broken. You're just full of files that were never cleared out, and those files don't come only from your story. They come from your lineage, from your ancestry, from other versions of yourself who were wounded and never supported. Dr. Hew Len called this data running in the subconscious. And this data doesn't need to be resolved. It just needs to be cleansed. That's why you might keep repeating the same cycles. You give too much and end up exhausted. You try to please and then feel invisible. You achieve something and soon feel guilty or afraid of losing it. These are the voices of memory trying to stay alive. But you can choose differently. You can listen to the pain without fighting it. You can look at the discomfort without judging it. And above all, you can say with courage, "I'm willing to cleanse," because as Dr. Hew Len said, you don't need to dig up the past in pain. You just need to offer love to everything that's still stuck inside you. This crisis you're going through is not a breakdown, it's an invitation. An invitation to stop fighting yourself and to begin setting yourself free. There's nothing wrong with you. What's happening is this. It's time to let go of what was never yours. And instead of asking, "What's wrong with me?" you can start asking, "What inside me is asking to be cleansed right now?" Because that question changes everything. Most people believe that to heal, you have to remember, that to release something, you have to relive the pain, analyze it, reopen old wounds. But Dr. Hew Len taught the opposite. You don't need to understand. You don't need to know what it is. Just take responsibility and cleanse. And that's one of the greatest freedoms Ho'oponopono offers. The freedom to stop carrying or fixing what was never even yours. You just need to choose to let go. Because childhood pain doesn't go away just because you understand it. It doesn't leave because you figured it out. It dissolves when you cleanse what's still entangled in your field, when you stop holding it in with guilt, with attachment, with fear. And that's where the true journey begins. You don't walk through this portal to become someone better. You walk through it to stop carrying what was never yours to begin with. And this path isn't made of effort or struggle. It's made of awareness, of presence, of repetition. The 4 phrases of Ho'oponopono might seem simple. "I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you." But they are vibrational keys. Each time you repeat them with intention, something inside you starts to shift. It's as if the inner doors begin to slowly open. No noise, no fireworks, but with divine precision. Because these phrases aren't just a magical mantra. They are an act of surrender, a living prayer, a way of standing before life and saying, "I accept that I don't know everything, but I'm willing to cleanse what keeps me from loving." This journey is a silent one. It doesn't come with trophies or applause, but it brings something no outer success can offer, that deep inner peace that asks for nothing in return. And that peace begins the moment you realize you no longer need to prove, you no longer need to control, you no longer need to repeat what hurts. Dr. Hew Len used to say that when we take 100% responsibility, something realigns on every level of our being. And that responsibility is not blame, it is awareness. It's the recognition that everything you feel, attract, or experience has a resonance inside of you. And as unfair as that may sound to the rational mind, it is the key to true freedom. Because if it's in you, you can cleanse it, you can release it, you can begin again. Imagine now that there's an invisible thread connecting what happened to you and what you continue to carry within. That thread is made of memories, experiences, emotions, voices, fears. Every time you say the sacred words, you begin to cut that thread. You say, "Enough, I choose to let go," and something begins to dissolve. You don't need to know how, you just need to trust. Dr. Hew Len healed hundreds of psychiatric patients, without therapy, without talking to them, without even leaving the room. He simply looked at their files and said within himself, "I love you." He repeated, he cleansed, he thanked, without knowing exactly what was being healed. And one by one, the patients began to change. Because when you cleanse within yourself, the vibration of your entire field shifts, and that shift reflects in everything around you. That's the crossing, leaving behind control and entering flow, stopping the search for someone to blame and starting the release of memory. It's changing the question, why is this happening to me? To, what inside me is asking to be cleansed? And that question doesn't weaken you, it empowers you. It transforms you from a victim into a healing channel. And the most beautiful part is, you don't have to know what you're cleansing. You just have to repeat with the intention to free, to release, to trust that divine intelligence knows exactly what to do. This journey isn't for those seeking quick answers. It's for those seeking peace. And peace isn't loud, it's subtle. It arrives softly, in the silence between one breath and the next. Maybe you won't even notice it at first. But one day you'll wake up and realize that something no longer hurts. That situation no longer triggers you. That pattern no longer repeats. And you'll understand the cleansing worked. After so long trying to fit in, trying to please, to understand, to survive, you begin to remember who you are. Not because someone told you, not because you read it somewhere, but because you felt it. You felt a new kind of silence within. You felt that something that once weighed you down no longer does. You felt that what once hurt you has lost its grip. And that, dear soul, is wholeness beginning to bloom. Wholeness is not perfection. Wholeness is when you welcome all the forgotten parts of you. It's when you no longer need to pretend, no longer need to hide, no longer need to mold yourself to fit a version that wasn't yours. Dr. Hew Len used to say, whatever is in you can be cleansed. And with cleansing comes the freedom to live with lightness, with truth, with peace. You are no longer a prisoner of pain, no longer tied to the stories of the past. You don't need to defend yourself from a world that no longer exists. Now, you can live with soul. To live with soul is to wake up without guilt for being who you are. It's to say no with love, to choose silence without feeling selfish, to stop chasing and start attracting what matches your new frequency. It's understanding that the past brought you here, but it doesn't define where you're going. And when that shift happens, the little things begin to taste different. Breakfast feels more nourishing. A sincere hug becomes healing. Time slows down. And finally, you breathe like someone who's no longer running. This is true healing, the kind that happens from the inside, without noise, without audience, without pressure. And the most beautiful part is, you don't have to do anything more. Just keep cleansing, because cleansing brings you back into alignment. It grounds you. It connects you. Dr. Hew Len used to say, when you cleanse, you give divinity permission to act. You stop carrying it all alone, and you start trusting. And trust is the foundation of wholeness. It's what allows life to flow again, effortlessly, without repeated pain, without fear of starting over. Now you can look at your story with love, without wanting to erase it, without denying it, but also without being imprisoned by it. Because what's behind you served its purpose in bringing you to this moment, the moment where you say, now I choose differently, and that choice changes everything. Wholeness is not a destination. It's a state of being. It's when your wounded self and your divine self finally meet and choose to walk together, in peace, without guilt, without haste, without pressure, only presence. You're no longer a character repeating old lines. You are now the author of your story. And if there's a chapter that still hurts, you can cleanse it with love and keep going, lighter, clearer, more whole. Cleansing begins the moment you say yes to your soul. Se desejar, posso seguir com o bloco 7, que é o encerramento profundo e inspirador desse texto. Ele começa com, if you've made it this far, it's because something within you responded. If you've made it this far, it's because something within you responded. Maybe it was a chill down your spine, a lump in your throat, a quiet tear, or just a gentle sense that something inside you has started to let go. And that alone is cleansing. Dr. Hew Len used to say, the very act of hearing these words already begins the healing process. Because Ho'oponopono doesn't demand effort, it asks for presence and choice. You can continue living the way you always have, or today you can begin practicing what your soul already knows, that there's nothing wrong with you, that you are not broken, that everything you feel is just memory asking to be released, with love, with compassion, with awareness. You don't need to hide anymore. Your light is welcome, and so is your pain, because everything brought into love can be healed. So now, If you feel it in your heart, repeat with me. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. Repeat slowly, with intention. Take a deep breath between each phrase. Feel what happens inside you when you surrender. When you stop resisting and simply cleanse, if an image, a memory, or an emotion surfaces now, don't run from it, don't analyze it, just say, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you, and allow divinity to do the rest. You've already done your part. You said yes. If this message touched something deep within you, share it with someone else who might also be feeling this silent call. Sometimes it's that single act of sharing that brings light where everything once felt dark. And if you'd like, the comments are open. To leave a word, a sigh, a moment of truth, or simply an I love you that you felt like saying to yourself. Here, whatever comes from the soul is always welcome. And remember, you don't have to understand everything to begin. You just need to be present and cleanse, because when you cleanse, you set yourself free, and the world around you begins to shift with you. Dr. Hew Len used to say, we heal the world by healing ourselves. And you, beloved soul, have already begun. Welcome back into your soul.